Somebody said if you don't like playing with LeBron, you wouldn't like playing with Kobe. Bro, you guys got to stop these narratives, man. It's not that I didn't like playing with Bron, you guys. And I don't want to go into detail about it. Some of y'all comments just be so asinine. Like when I was in Cleveland and I was a young player, I had no idea Bron was going to come back. The reason why I say I would have loved to play with Kobe, because I would have loved to have started my career with, I love Cleveland, don't get me wrong. I'm appreciative of all the things that they've done for me. But at the same time, I would have loved to choose the franchise I wanted to go to. You know what I'm saying? I would have loved to develop next to some of my favorite players and some of my favorite people. Because being a young player, when you're on a team that's not winning a lot of games, there's a lot of bad habits that form. And that's what ended up happening to me when I was very young. I had a lot of bad habits. I was not a winner. I was not a loser.
It happened in the most unexpected way. No press tour, no ESPN exclusive, no carefully staged interview. Just Kyrie Irving sitting on a live stream, relaxed, unbothered, until he dropped a single line that sent an earthquake through the entire NBA world. No anger, no drama, just a calm, almost chilling promise. When I'm done playing, you guys will hear the real story. Within seconds, the internet detonated. LeBron fans flooded the comments like they were defending a royal kingdom. Kyrie supporters fired back with accusations that had been simmering for years. Entire group chats turned into battlefield threads. Everyone knew this wasn't just a random comment. This was a direct threat to one of the most polished legacies in basketball history. Because if there's one player who has receipts who lived inside the machine, who saw what really happened behind closed doors, it's Kyrie Irving. And for the first time ever, he's not afraid to talk. Long before the headlines, the drama and the split that shook the league, Kyrie Irving was living a completely different story. One most fans either forgot or never cared to understand. When he was drafted #1 overall in 2011, it wasn't a moment of choice or destiny. It was an assignment. The league told him where to go, and he landed on a Cleveland team still trying to recover from the emotional crater LeBron left behind when he bolted for Miami. The roster was a mess. No direction. No true identity. No veteran guidance. Just a 19-year-old prodigy with generational handles trying to drag a broken franchise to relevance. Every night he stepped on the court knowing if he didn't score, nobody would. That pressure twisted him into a one-man offense, not because he was selfish, but because survival demanded it. He learned bad habits not because he lacked discipline, but because he had to carry more weight than any young guard should. And deep down, Kyrie knew something the fans didn't. He never wanted Cleveland to define his career. He respected the city. He appreciated the opportunity. But he always dreamed of choosing his own path, picking his teammates, his organization, his culture. That freedom never came. This early chapter explains everything about the Kyrie people love to criticize. He wasn't arrogant, he wasn't difficult, he was a star trapped in the wrong situation trying to build greatness alone. But everything changed the moment LeBron returned. By the time Kyrie entered his 4th season, he was finally stepping into the role he'd fought so hard to earn. The losing years had shaped him, humbled him, sharpened him. He was ready to become the face of the franchise, the guy who would lead Cleveland into its next era. For the first time, the team was supposed to be his. And then, out of nowhere, everything flipped. LeBron James announced he was coming home. In an instant, the organization, the fan base, and the entire NBA landscape shifted around one man. Whatever plans Kyrie had for growth or leadership were erased overnight. The franchise didn't slowly transition power. It handed everything directly to LeBron the moment he stepped off the plane. Kyrie didn't become a co-star. He became a supporting character in a movie he thought he was supposed to headline. Every decision, every narrative, every expectation suddenly revolved around LeBron. The team's success stopped being about development. It became about maximizing LeBron's window, LeBron's legacy, LeBron's story. Kyrie has said it himself in moments where the truth slipped through. Playing with LeBron is a different animal. And he didn't mean the basketball part. He meant the world around him, the media, the politics, the constant scrutiny, the pressure to fit into someone else's system while your own growth gets paused. Kyrie went from rising leader to carefully managed sidekick without anyone asking what that meant for him. And that's when Kyrie discovered the part nobody sees. When LeBron left for Miami years earlier, he didn't just refine his game, he learned something far more powerful. Under Pat Riley's system, he absorbed discipline structure and the ability to stay locked in during chaos. But the real lesson was quieter, more calculated how to control every angle of a narrative. how to manage the media filter stories and shape public perception before the truth ever reached anyone's ears. So, when LeBron returned to Cleveland in 2014, he didn't just bring superstar talent. He brought a fully developed machine, a system designed to protect his image, polish his legacy, and ensure every storyline bent in his favor. Suddenly, the franchise felt less like a basketball team and more like controlled territory. Interviews sounded rehearsed. Criticism disappeared. Any issue the team faced seemed to magically redirect away from LeBron and toward someone else. And Kyrie watched all of this unfold in real time. He saw how certain clips made headlines while others vanished. He saw how narratives were spun to make sure one person stayed spotless. He saw how the media's tone shifted instantly depending on whether the story helped or hurt LeBron's mythology. To the outside world, fans only saw the polished version, the heroic leader, the savior, returning home. But behind the curtain, Kyrie experienced the politics, the pressure, and the feeling of playing inside a system where everything was pre-written. He wasn't just sharing the court with LeBron. He was living inside LeBron's universe. But the darkest part came during the championship run. It was the moment every kid dreams about. Game 7, final minute. The entire season hanging by a single possession. And there was Kyrie Irving, 24 years old, calm as a monk, sizing up Steph Curry, rocking him to sleep and stepping back into a shot so cold it froze time. The ball dropped through the net like destiny had been waiting for that exact sound. That was the dagger. The shot that delivered Cleveland its first championship in more than 50 years. It should have been the clip replayed for generations. The moment that defined an era. The signature play of the finals. But almost immediately, the narrative shifted. Every sports network rolled one clip on repeat, blocked by James. Kyrie's masterpiece got buried under LeBron's chase-down block. Within hours, Kyrie could already feel the moment slipping away as if history was being rewritten right in front of him. Then LeBron went on national television and said that winning that title made him the greatest player of all time. Not the team, not the group effort, not the duo that carried Cleveland, just him. Meanwhile, Kyrie had averaged 27 points per game in the series, took over long stretches of every matchup, and hit the most iconic shot of the finals. Yet somehow he became a footnote in his own triumph, overshadowed by a narrative that was never designed to include him equally. That was the moment he realized the machine wasn't just powerful, it was unstoppable. But the real fracture came the very next year. If 2016 was the moment Kyrie realized how powerful the narrative machine was, then 2017 was when he understood exactly how dangerous it could be. The Cavaliers marched back into the finals, this time facing a Warriors team upgraded with Kevin Durant, a matchup so stacked it felt like a cheat code. And yet, even against that juggernaut, Kyrie went nuclear. Nearly 29 points per game, hitting impossible shots, keeping Cleveland alive in stretches where the game should have been over. But something strange happened. Durant wasn't just beating the Cavs, he was outplaying LeBron straight up. And instead of acknowledging that reality, the media wrapped LeBron in a protective layer so thick, you'd think he carried the team alone. The blame for losing didn't fall on LeBron. It fell on everybody else, role players, coaching, bench production, and inevitably Kyrie. Then the whispers started. Quiet at first, then louder. Suddenly, the superstar who hit the shot of the century, who dragged them through back-to-back finals, was being floated around in trade scenarios. Kyrie Irving, the guy who delivered a title, was being treated like an expendable asset. And that's when it clicked. Inside LeBron's ecosystem, everyone was replaceable except LeBron himself. No matter how brilliant you were, no matter what you accomplished, you were just a piece in a narrative built to protect the king. So Kyrie made the most radical decision of the LeBron era. He walked away on his own terms. No superstar had ever done that before. And that's when the backlash turned vicious. Once Kyrie left Cleveland, the media didn't treat it like a normal superstar changing teams. It felt personal, almost like a betrayal of the league's chosen storyline. Suddenly, every misstep became a weapon. Every quote became a headline. Every struggle became a character flaw. In Boston, when the young roster clashed with Kyrie's leadership style, analysts didn't call it growing pains. They called it proof he couldn't lead. When injuries sidelined him, legitimate injuries that any player would have taken time to recover from, he was labeled dramatic, unreliable, even selfish. The same fans who celebrated his toughness in Cleveland suddenly acted like he quit on teams just because he didn't play through pain. Then came the pandemic. Kyrie made a personal medical decision, and within hours, the outrage reached another level entirely. People weren't just criticizing him, they were calling for him to be suspended, banned, erased. It felt less like health concern and more like punishment for refusing to fall in line. and the loudest voices driving the attacks, a huge chunk of LeBron's fan base who treated Kyrie's independence as an assault on their hero's legacy. Through it all, LeBron stayed silent. No support for his former teammate, no defense, nothing. He let the fire burn while his image stayed polished and untouched. And in those years, Kyrie saw exactly how narratives can be twisted, magnified, and weaponized, not by accident, but by design. Everyone thought this would break him, but something unbelievable happened. When Kyrie landed in Dallas, most people expected chaos. They predicted locker room drama clashes with Luka, another headline cycle waiting to explode. Instead, the exact opposite happened. Kyrie became a steadying force, a calm, respected veteran who showed up every night with focused discipline and a level of maturity people insisted he didn't have. The same critics who said he was uncoachable suddenly had no new material. The narrative they built for years began to crumble right in front of them. And then came the moment that should have sent him spiraling. Luka Doncic, the franchise's golden child, got traded to the Lakers, a move that would have shattered most players emotionally or mentally. But Kyrie didn't flinch. He didn't panic. He didn't fall apart or lash out. He just kept hooping, efficient, poised, unbothered. It was the clearest evidence yet that the old stories about him were never real. Reporters expected bitterness. They got leadership. Analysts expected tension. They got consistency. Teammates expected turbulence. They got guidance. Kyrie had finally reached a place in his career where he wasn't chasing. Validation wasn't trying to fit into someone else's system, and wasn't letting outside noise dictate who he was supposed to be. This was the version of Kyrie that nobody ever expected, grounded, peaceful, and honest, the kind of honesty that doesn't come from anger, but from confidence. The kind that makes his words dangerous, because once he reached that level of inner stability, he stopped being afraid to speak the truth. And that leads to the moment that terrified the basketball world. All the years of silence, all the moments he swallowed his pride, all the times he watched the narrative twist against him, it finally led to one calm, surgical moment on livestream. Kyrie wasn't emotional. He wasn't ranting. He wasn't trying to make headlines. He looked straight into the camera with that focused, almost meditative energy and said the words that shook the entire NBA. "When I'm done playing, you guys will hear the real story. No PR filter, no corporate polish, no rehearsed talking points. Just raw truth from someone who lived through every chapter of the LeBron era with a front row seat." That one sentence hit harder than any interview LeBron has ever given because everyone knew what it meant. LeBron's legacy, polished, protected, and carefully curated for over 2 decades, depends on certain stories never being told, depends on teammates staying silent, depends on the machine running smoothly. But Kyrie isn't in that machine anymore. He knows the conversations behind closed doors. He knows the politics nobody else saw. He knows how the narratives were shaped, redirected, and weaponized. He knows what really happened in Cleveland, not the sanitized version fans were fed. And judging by the panic in the comment sections, the LeBron fan base knows he's not bluffing. They know Kyrie carries receipts that could rewrite the entire Cleveland era, maybe even force fans to rethink the mythology built around the king. So the question becomes this: what happens when the one person LeBron can't control finally speaks? Kyrie's promise wasn't just a moment of honesty, it was the start of a countdown. When he finally decides to speak freely, the entire legacy conversation could shift overnight. For years, fans saw only the polished version of the LeBron era. But Kyrie lived through the part the cameras never showed. And once that truth comes out, the basketball world may never look at LeBron or that era the same way again. So now the question isn't if Kyrie will talk. It's what happens to the King's legacy when he finally does.